Hello and welcome to Newsroom. I'm Sharmeen Ali. Today marks the 122nd day that Indian occupied Kashmir is under an internet blackout and lockdown. And the situation there is still very, very grim. People are still not coming out of their homes. Children are not going to school. And the story that we've all been talking about of the plight, the humanitarian plight of the Kashmiri people has remained unchanged, with protests going on in the region, which we don't get to know about because of a lack of access to the media, especially international independent media. We're going to be talking about how the Indian press within India, who does get access to Kashmir, how their reporting is very biased and how it's not showing the true picture, which has also been confirmed in a recent article in the New Yorker magazine by Dexter Filkins. We'll be getting into a little bit of detail about that and the plight of minorities in India at the moment. Also, we're going to be talking about the Afghan peace talks, which have a new thrust, and the negotiator, Mr. Zalmay Khalilzad, is at the moment in Kabul, and he will be proceeding to Doha to resume peace talks with the Taliban. This was an official statement given by the US State Department. So things are looking more positive for the situation in Afghanistan, which is a region which desperately needs to bring about peace after being at war for 18 years. We're also going to be talking about a very good story in which an Afghan man, he travels to 12 kilometers to have his young daughters educated, which is a wonderful story because, as we know, in Afghanistan and many regions in the region where you have this sort of a background, you have Afghanis or you have Pakhtuns, they don't choose to educate their daughters. And this is a man who's dedicated purely to educating his daughters. And we're also going to be talking about the stock market as well today, but we will come back and introduce our guests after the break.
ग्रामी को प्राइम मिनिस्टर पाकिस्तान इमरान खान जो आज लॉन्च करने जा रहे हैं डिजिटल पाकिस्तान का विज़न। सबसे पहले हम आगाज़ करेंगे अल्लाह ताला के बाबरकत नाम से। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाहि रब्बिल आलमीन, अर्रहमानिर्रहीम यौमिद्दीन, इय्याका नअबुदु व इय्याका नस्तईन, इहदिनस सिरातल मुस्तकीम, सिरातल लज़ीना अनअमता अलैहिम, गैरिल मग़दूबि अलैहिम वलद्दालीन। आमीन। जज़ाकल्लाह। आज डिजिटल पाकिस्तान विज़न की लॉन्च है। इस हवाले से आपके साथ तफसीलात शेयर की जाएंगी, और ये जो जज्बा है, ये जो जुनून है, ये जो लगन है, ये जो मेहनत है, ये जो मोहब्बत है, ये बदल के रख देगी पाकिस्तान को। आज एक तारीख़ी दिन है क्योंकि आज प्राइम मिनिस्टर पाकिस्तान इमरान खान की क़यादत में हमारी हुकूमत एक और संग मील जो है वो अबूर करने जा रही है। डिजिटल पाकिस्तान विज़न जो मुस्तकबिल है बेहतरीन पाकिस्तान का, ये काम बेहतरीन है और इसमें जागीर तरीन है, जिन्होंने बड़ी मेहनत की और अपनी टीम के साथ मिलके इसको रिकॉर्ड टाइम में इम्प्लीमेंट किया और ये यकीनी बनाया कि हम इसे बहुत जल्दी लॉन्च करें, जो आज लॉन्च होने जा रहा है। हमारा सबसे बड़ा सरमाया हमारे नौजवान और उसके साथ साथ हमारे बैरून मुल्क जो पाकिस्तानी हैं, जो इस मुल्क के लिए बहुत कुछ कर रहे हैं, और उसकी वजह इमरान खान पर एतमाद है, उनका ट्रस्ट करते हैं। ऐसे ही दो पाकिस्तानी आज हम आपको उनकी कहानी बताएंगे, जो आके आपसे बात भी करेंगे, जिन्होंने सब कुछ छोड़कर इस एतमाद, इस उम्मीद और उसी मोहब्बत के साथ पाकिस्तान का रुख किया, जिनको सबसे पहले मैं दावत देने लगा हूं, जो आएंगी और बताएंगी कि ये क्या है विज़न ऑफ डिजिटल पाकिस्तान। आप सीनियर गूगल एग्जीक्यूटिव रहीं, बहुत बड़ी आपने जॉब छोड़ी, गूगल को छोड़ा और पाकिस्तान आई प्राइम मिनिस्टर इमरान खान के इस विज़न को ड्राइव करने के लिए, डिजिटल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ऑफ पाकिस्तान, और आपसे वो आके बात करेंगी। आपकी पुरज़ोर तालियों में तशरीफ़ लाती हैं तानिया।
Thank you, Faisal. Assalamu alaikum. Respected Prime Minister, IT Minister साहब, members of cabinet, guests, बहुत शुक्रिया कि आपने मुझे आज आपसे बात करने का मौका दिया. Before मैं डिजिटल पाकिस्तान की विजन की तरफ जाऊँ, मैं कुछ आपके मिनट लेके आपसे बताना चाहूँगी कि मैं यहाँ पहुँची किस तरह. Also, क्यों मैं इतनी एक्साइटेड हूँ इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में जो अपॉर्चुनिटी है टेक्नोलॉजी की तरफ से. देखिए, मुझे पाकिस्तान छोड़े हुए 20 साल हो गए और हम सब जो पाकिस्तानी डायस्पोरा है, जो सब बाहर रहते हैं, जो एक पाकिस्तान की स्ट्रॉन्ग आइडेंटिटी लेके बाहर गए थे, हम अपनी पूरी कोशिश जारी रखते हैं कि किसी तरह कंट्री को कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकें और हर जो भी मौका मिलता है कल्चर को शोकेस करने का, कंट्रीब्यूट करने का, हम अपनी पूरी कोशिश करते हैं कि वो करें. मुझे जब जब ऐसे मौके मिले, मैंने अपनी फुल कोशिश करने की. MIT में जब मैं ग्रेजुएट स्टूडेंट थी, मुझे अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली कि मैं पाकिस्तान पे पहली केस स्टडी लिख सकूं MIT के प्लेटफॉर्म से. वो मैंने किया. 7 साल पहले मुझे गूगल में अपॉर्चुनिटी मिली कि मैं पाकिस्तान का बिज़नेस शुरू कर सकूं. उसके लिए मैं अमेरिका छोड़ के सिंगापुर मूव हुई, गूगल का बिज़नेस शुरू किया. हमने प्रोडक्ट्स यहाँ पे गूगल के लॉन्च किए. उसके देखे देखे फेसबुक ने अपना पाकिस्तान के ऊपर फोकस शुरू किया.
You were watching footage from Indian-occupied Kashmir, and indeed, at the moment, there are a lot of atrocities going on in India against the Kashmiri Muslims as well as against Muslims all over India and other minorities, but mostly it is targeted at Muslims, this kind of aggression. And we're going to be talking to our guest in our studio now about this. We have with us Mr. Naseem Siddiqui, who's a senior journalist, who's a frequent participant in our program. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us once again. Sir, now I'd like to, again, I've referred to this article before, it's very lengthy, so even one program is not enough to cover the amount of information in this. And I'm referring to the article in the New Yorker that's come out in this most recent issue by Dexter Filkins, and the research that him and Rana Ayub, who's an Indian journalist of Muslim origin, they went and conducted in Indian-occupied Kashmir, and what they discovered is extremely different. It's an absolute contrast to what the Indian media is, the official statements coming out from the government, and what the Indian media is portraying to the rest of the world. Sir, in your opinion now, the Indian media seems to be very, very compromised in this situation, and they are not giving a true picture of exactly what's happening in Indian-occupied Kashmir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Sharmeen. Exactly. Indian media is totally blackout at the moment. You have seen that one of the reporter from a local channel, she went there in Kashmir and she was showing that everything is fine there. When you can see nobody on the streets, she was not able to interview anybody. And even when the opposition leaders went to Indian occupied Kashmir, they were not allowed to move freely. Even first time they were sent back, and when their High Court ordered to take them again over there, they were taken into big security and they were not allowed to talk to anybody. So it's the people of Kashmir who will tell what's happening there, and I appreciate both of these journalists who went there and they have taken a story out of there, and I'm surprised at what the world leaders are doing at the moment. It's more than 122 days. The human beings are being under curfew over there, and what Modi government is doing, that's the true face of Modi government and Indian government at the moment, that what they are doing with the people of Kashmir, they are human beings as well. In Europe and America, people raise voice for the animals' benefits, and they don't know that what atrocities and brutalities have been done with the human beings in Kashmir. So world leaders must, this is the time now. Too much time has been passed. We don't know what's happening there inside Kashmir with the families. Those who are sick, people are not going on their jobs, children are not going to schools, they are deprived of their basic rights. So what world is doing at the moment, I don't understand. And this story is an eye opener for them as well.
It's an eye opener for the whole world, actually.
Yeah, and I'm happy that somebody, even that foreign media started talking about Kashmir.
Well, Dexter
This is the first
Filkins,
time.
he snuck into Srinagar in an Indian occupied Kashmir. He wasn't actually allowed access. So this is one of the journalists of Republic TV, Sweta Srivastava, said that the situation makes you feel good because the situation is returning to normal and the locals are ready to live their lives normally again. And she conducted no interviews and didn't speak to any locals about how they felt or what was going on. So this is generally the line that you're seeing by Indian journalists right now. And the article goes on to say that Modi and his allies have squeezed, bullied and smothered the press into endorsing what they call the new India. So the situation with the Indian press right now, we saw what happened to Atish Tasir, who wrote that divider-in-chief article in Time magazine earlier this year. And he had this his overseas citizenship revoked by the Indian government under completely odd and trumped up kind of charges that he never declared his father was Pakistani, which he claims he declared from day one. So just finding an excuse. And in the past, Indian journalists who've spoken up against the treatment of minorities by the BJP government, they've been killed as well.
Exactly, this is not Modi's government or BJP's government, this is the ideology of RSS. If some journalists, they want to speak truth or they raise voice against any atrocities of the present regime, they have been killed or they have been threatened. If like Sweta, she was moving around in Kashmir, you can see that our DG ISPR, General Asif Afur, he took foreigners over there, the diplomats, the foreign press, to the Azad Kashmir, which is next to Pakistan, and they moved freely over there. They were buying, they were shopping from the local shopkeepers, they were talking to them. So if India claims or Modi government claims that they have done something in the benefit of the people of the Kashmiris, they must lift the curfew first of all, and then they should allow the foreigners, the foreign media, the diplomats, the local media, the local opposition people, so they can go into Kashmir, they can interview the people who are living there, those who have got the right of self-determination. When you are not talking to them, when they are not interviewing them and you are not taking their views that what happened when the curfew was imposed or when this article was
then it's not balanced.
It's not balanced. The Indian media is totally compromised and under threat at the moment.
Yes, exactly. And the article then goes on to say how India's story now under Prime Minister Modi, since he's been elected Prime Minister in 2014, he's saying it's gone from that of a secular democracy accommodating a uniquely diverse population to that of a Hindu nation that dominates its minorities, especially the country's 200 million Muslims. That is a lot of people to try and subjugate and all. And if you talk about Rana Ayyub now, she is an Indian journalist who's from a Muslim family background. And it also talks about what happened with her family in the aftermath of the Ayodhya incident and how the mobs went and attacked Muslims and what happened to her family. She had polio at that time and she was a young girl. They were informed by a Sikh friend of theirs, her family was informed that they're going to come and take your daughters. The mobs are going to come and take your daughters. Because their way of intimidating in India by the Hindu nationalist RSS, the community and the BJP who are there right now governing. I'm not saying this about all Indians, I'm sure not everybody's like that there, but is to go and sort of terrorize and scare people by raping women, because they are the weaker people, they're sort of more vulnerable. So then they had to move to a very small and kind of a unhygienic, dirty area, and all her family was affected by these riots and by what happened after the Ayodhya incident.
As I said before, after the regime of Modi, the minorities are very unsafe in India at the moment, because again, it's not a BJP government, it's an RSS government, and though Their ideology is to snub these minorities, and that India is only for the Hindus. And whoever is raising voice, their voice has been cut down, or they have been threatened, or they have been killed. And like on their streets, on their transports, ladies are not safe. You must have remembered one incident that happened in Delhi in a bus, and they raped that girl, and they killed after all as well, and they were they were free, they were moving freely. And in the past days we have seen that a girl, Priyanka, she was raped and she was burnt alive. So the India is showing this. This is the face of real India at the moment, where they are just against the minorities at the moment, and they are doing lot of atrocities and brutalities with them, and that's why India's economic condition is going bad as well. So Modi must think that what his regime is doing at the moment, and India is not only for Hindus, it's for all minorities living there as well. Those who are born there, and those who educated there, and those who are living in India at the moment.
Right, absolutely. We've got online with us now Mr. Raja Kaisar, who's an international relations expert. Thank you so much for joining us on our program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, we were just discussing the plight of Muslim minorities in India at the moment, including the Kashmiris. It's gotten very, very grim, and the recent article in the New Yorker magazine by Dexter Filkins goes very much into detail about that, and how this aggression towards Muslims became sort of institutionalized by the state, by the BJP government, since the destruction of the Babri Mosque in 1992. So, sir, what is your opinion about this particular article and the state of the minorities, especially Muslims in India?
Thank you, Sharmeen. Well, India right now is undergoing a social and political transformation at large. And this transformation of indigenization, and an indigenization which has a saffron color.
Yeah.
BJP's idea of Hindu majoritarianism, it is sweeping across the nook and cranny of India currently. And this is why you see that there is an outright discombobulation right now in India. And you see not particularly Muslims, but all the minorities, they are at the receiving end by and large. You see what is happening to the Dalits right now. And the kind of nefarious propaganda which has been unleashed against the Sikhs, the opening of Kartarpur corridor. And along with this, what is happening to Muslims in Assam, what is happening to the Indians in Nagaland, what is happening to the Naxalites, it all in itself speaks volume of the evolution which India is undergoing. And unfortunately, this is a retrogressive evolution. This is not something which is taking India to a step forward. Rather, it is one step forward and two steps backward. This is where India is losing its own civilizational traits, or something which they had been trumpeting for the decades, that they have a civilizational character and their rhetoric of being a mature civilization and composite culture. It is shuddering right now, and in its outright manifestation, we can see in the case of Kashmir, where in egregious human rights violations they are taking place against the Muslims, and they are at the receiving end. And Kashmiris, the way they are hostage to a repression and internal suffocation and a curfew which goes unabated for last 115 days. So that is what is Modi for you, that is what is Hindutva for you, that is what is Hindus majoritarianism, or this is what is Hindu, the conception of Hindu Rashtra, which BJP wants to make in, where the will of the majority should prevail, where the Muslims or any other minority whatsoever, they have to be subsumed under the majority and the will of the Hindus. Well, BJP is not realizing a fact that by doing this, they have actually put the foundational, they have made an assault onto the foundational principles of Indian state, because Indian secularism right now was the only focal point which had kept the diversity of India intact. Otherwise, with these pursuit of policies and the way they are taking ahead these things, it would lead to an internal implosion, and you would see that in the near offing, because these things had already started taking place. You see that the way people are in Nagaland, and the way the unrest is brewing in India. So we would definitely, in the near offing, see much more disturbance and consternation in India.
Right, and sir, would you say, in your opinion, the Muslim minority in India, who are 200 million in number, which is a large number, the majority of them, have they been sort of a marginalized community throughout the history of the country? We know that they've had a Muslim president, but what about the majority of the Muslims there? Have they been given equal treatment to the Hindus in the country in the past?
No, this is where BJP has always made its concrete existence when they put themselves into an oppositional matrix with Muslims in India. They always drew their impetus or their existence from within the animosity with the Muslims. You see, that is why the day when Kartarpur opening was taking place, the day Supreme Court made a verdict in favor of the demolition of the Babri Mosque. So, and the way they have always put Muslims at the back foot, and the way they had always been putting them onto a defensive position, it in itself speaks what is BJP's agenda about the Indian state. They believe that it should be a Hindu state, and Muslims, their past of 1,000 years, and the way they have been ruled by the Muslims for 1,000 years, they had been trying to rewrite the history. But unfortunately, this is what is documented. They cannot morph it, they cannot concoct it. But when they don't find any alternative, any plausible alternative to the history, so they return to their own societal basis, making it more a parochial society for the Muslims, so that they could not voice out, and they have made them politically irrelevant. It gets substantiated through a fact that if you see in 2019's elections, there was no candidate which was pitched by BJP from the Muslim side. A country having 200 million of Muslim votes but having no Muslim candidature, that in itself tells you that what BJP is up for, and what is BJP's agenda, and what is the conception of Hindu Rashtra, which this BJP and particularly Modi and Amit Shah, they want to replicate in India.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Raja Kaisar, for giving us your views on this. And so, sir, Naseem Siddiqui Saab, now we heard what Raja Kaisar also said. Now, the situation with the Sikhs, since the opening of the Kartarpur corridor, you're getting reports about how now there's 24 million Sikhs in India. And the volume of the pilgrims being allowed to come to visit the Kartarpur temple over here, there are reports that they're being hassled over there. They're not being allowed to come and visit the temple. They're giving them a tough time as well.
That was a very good decision by the Prime Minister of Pakistan when he allowed Sikhs to come to Pakistan without even visa. They can just present their passport and there would be no stamp, because these Sikhs were threatened by Indian government as well that they won't be giving the visas of other countries if they have a stamp on Pakistani passport. So Pakistan is supporting Sikhs and facilitating them totally. But whereas the Indian government, they are doing the same thing with the Sikhs as well, with the Muslims as well. Those marginalized minorities living over there, they are not happy at the moment because they were not giving their rights before as well. But now in the regime of Modi, they are totally deprived of their rights. So Modi government must think that the people who are living in India are Indians and they all are equal. So their rights should be given to them. Otherwise, there will be a big chaos in India, and as they are looking that there would be only India for Hindus and there would be a Hindu rule over India, that would be a nightmare for Modi in future.
Absolutely. So going back to Rana Ayub now, she says, I think the repression is probably worse than it has ever been. She's speaking about the situation in Kashmir and about the Muslims in India as well. So it's worse than it's ever been. And we've seen in the past also the Muslims in India, 200 million of them, they have not been given sort of equal rights, or you can say an equal voice in India. So now it's gotten to another threshold level.
Yes, she is absolutely right, because the Muslims in India, they are not given the rights, they are not given the jobs as Indians getting in the government or their other sectors as well, and the other minority is facing the same problem. So it's like India for Hindus only. So they are getting better jobs, they are adjusted in better positions, and those Muslims like who are in a big they are in a majority over there in some areas as well, but they are not giving their rights properly. And
Right.
same is with the other minorities and with the Sikh community as well.
Right. Thank you so much, Naseem Siddiqui sir, for joining us again today. We are going to now talk about how the Afghanistan peace talks are due to resume again, and we're going to show you a package about that now.
Afghan peace process has taken several turns during the recent months. The recent developments signal a hope for regional peace and stability as the U.S. negotiator on Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, would soon resume talks with the Taliban and seek efforts towards a ceasefire. Zalmay is expected to land in Qatar to meet the Taliban after his meetings in Kabul. This news surfaces 3 months after President Donald Trump abruptly halted diplomatic efforts that could end America's longest war on Afghan soil. Media reports suggest that Taliban are also ready to cooperate on the talks for peaceful settlement of the war. On the other hand, Pakistan is playing its part for the restart of the Afghan peace process. Pakistan has always supported and facilitated the efforts for peace and stability in Afghanistan.
So you were watching a package about how Afghanistan is now due to resume peace talks. The Taliban are going to resume their peace talks with the U.S. negotiator Zalmay Khalilzad. So to discuss that, we have with us right now in our studio Brigadier Shahid Jagir, who is a senior analyst. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us once again. Sir, I just want to give a bit of a background to now the Afghanistan peace talks, why it is so essential. And to start that, I want to begin with the Afghanis. The Afghans have suffered over 111,000 casualties since 2001, since the U.S. invasion, in the fight against Al-Qaeda in 2001 after 9/11. Out of those were civilians, soldiers and militants. Those were all the number of the people killed. And obviously these must be approximate numbers, because officially many people must have died and nobody even recorded it, because in such a region it's hard to record exact numbers. There have been over 31,000 civilian deaths due to war-related violence, 29,000 civilians wounded. And just in the recent elections, on election day, there were 200 attacks because it was seen by the Taliban as a foreign plot to extend occupation. So, sir, Afghanistan is a country that has seen a lot of violence, and you've seen the toll it's taken on the people over there. So in your opinion, is this is a very positive development that the peace talks are going to resume? Obviously, we know that the U.S. soldiers have suffered casualties as well. 2,600 soldiers have been killed by the U.S. Army, but the number of Afghan people who've been killed is massive.
Thank you very much. First, let me say that the figures you have quoted about the Afghan casualties, both military and civil, Pakistan has suffered more than that in terms of human lives, whether it's military, civilians, and all. And U.S. has suffered about little over 2,500 casualties and almost a little higher number of the U.S. soldiers incapacitated. But nevertheless, this is a very good omen. The start of the peace talk, restart of the peace talk, is very essential, not only for the peace in Afghanistan, but peace in South Asia and the world in general. But there are a lot of complex issues involved in it. The five, I would say, there are 5 major challenging issues which are number one is that how this peace deal will be implemented. How the two warring factions, that is basically the U.S. and Taliban, implement whatever they say.
Right.
Will the U.S. Gradually withdraw? If in case of any issue, will the withdrawal will be stopped, because that is the topmost demand of the Taliban.
Right.
The second important thing is that after the Boone conference, whatever the coalition arrangements is running the Afghanistan, will they be able to put their personal issues and personal power struggle aside and would be serious in the Afghan peace process?
Right, absolutely. And then there's also a risk that will they be able to contain ISIS in Afghanistan as well?
That's what it is, that everyone has its own stakes over there. Then will the both the Taliban and the so-called intra-Afghan people and the US, genuinely talk to each other, putting aside their personal interests? And then whether the regional powers, as we see all the regional powers, including India, now will they be working for the goodwill of Afghanistan or for their national interest? As in one of the statement previously, the Indian ambassador in Afghanistan has said that there won't be a statement to the effect that there won't be a Islamic state, it will be a democratic and liberal state. And that's a big change which they are asking for, which the Taliban's, I doubt, would be able to agree.
Right.
The fifth important point is that will the logistic support and the financial support which is required for the running of the Taliban, running of the Afghan government after a negotiated settlement has been reached, will that flow of money will be there, flow of resources would be there? But these are extremely complex issues. And then which sort of government they agree upon?
Exactly.
That is the power sharing formula.
Yes.
Because power sharing consists of number of issues. The type of government which will come up, whether the power will be shared horizontally or vertically.
And so security matters. Who's going to deal
Security
with all
matters.
of that?
The economic matters. The what will be the sharing of the economy, the public funds. So these are the few issues which are human rights issue, again a very, very important issue which is bothering this all peace settlement. And then the interim measures which both the party will be agreeing after the agreement, there has to be an interim agreement arrangements, so that till the time the whole peace process is fully implemented. Now, which sort of interim agreement will be? Who will give the guarantee of that? Now, that's why we see that all the regional powers, they had a meeting with China, they had with Russia, 2-3 days back they were in Iran. So all are very apprehensive of this issue.
Sir, after the peace process comes to a conclusion and the US withdraws its troops and whatever power sharing agreement there's going to be, the country's going to need significant inputs economically to help them rebuild and reconstruct after all this years and decades of war. So do you expect that the US will be the main people helping them to reconstruct, or is it going to be the Chinese because they're in the region and it suits them to help Afghanistan build itself up again?
I earlier pointed out that that's a big question, because till the time the people, those who are with the guns, whether on the side of the Taliban or ISIS or with the present Afghan interim government, they would like to have some source of income. Now, how that source of income will come till the time the economic activity is not generated over there. And Afghanistan has an abundance of potentials, in terms of minerals, in terms of a gateway for the oil resources which are there in Central Asian states. The example is of Tapi project, example is of the Kasa project, example is of Pakistan, Iran, India gas pipeline. So these are the things which has to come up. These are the things which needs to be brought in. Then the industry has to be set up, because Afghanistan is totally, you know, a tone and broken in terms of its, you know, economic
And its
generation is
infrastructure and all of
concerned,
that, yeah.
industries and others. Now, you have put a very right question that who will fund this thing? Europe at this time fully cannot do that. Neither the US can do that, nor probably China will single-handedly do that. So there is a need that all the world powers, and especially the neighbors, should sit together and decide about it for the good faith of Afghanistan.
Absolutely. So, sir, due to shortage of time, thank you so much. You know, sorry to interrupt you also. Thank you so much for joining us again, Brigadier Shahid Jagir, and giving us all your input and analysis on this topic. It was very in-depth indeed. And now we come to the story of a very heartening story about Mia Khan, who is a resident of Dundalk village in Paktia province in Afghanistan. And this gentleman has dedicated himself to educating his young daughters. He takes his 3 daughters to school every day, which is, the school is 12 kilometers from his village. And this is in order to educate them. And he leaves them at school and he stays there and waits for them to take them home again. Now, this is true dedication coming from a father and a determination to educate his daughters. This is a really wonderful story to hear out of a region where we know that girls' education has been suppressed in the past, and also due to the religious and ethnic concerns of certain people in those areas, they don't allow their daughters to go to school at all. So here you see a completely different example of a gentleman who is just purely dedicated to educating his daughters. So indeed, this is a wonderful story to hear. Mr. Mia Khan has 7 daughters and 2 sons. Apparently, he got ill and couldn't go to work, so his sons are working. Meanwhile, he's trying to educate those 7 daughters of his. So well done, Mr. Mia Khan. We're all very proud of you for being a model dad for daughters. That's all the time we have for today's program. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on Newsroom. Bye-bye from me, Sharmeen Ali, and from our team.